Welcome to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast, your number one source for making money in the medical ancillary sector. Mike and Viv bring you the latest information from lab services, pharmacy, diagnostic testing, and so much more. The latest in ancillary services will be right around the corner. Welcoming the hosts of the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast, here's Mike and Viv.
Hello and welcome to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Berg, and joined as always by Viv Hudson. Viv, how are you doing this lovely Friday?
I'm great, thanks, Mike. And I'm pretty excited that we've got Derek Esty back with us from ThoughtSwift. So do you want to introduce Derek first, because you always do it so well?
Well, we have been working with ThoughtSwift now for, God, how long, Derek? I guess it's going on close to a year at least. And we've gotten a good response from doctors. As we've explained before, their program is a great door opener, and it's a great moneymaker for doctors. And as I've said in other podcasts, we're only as good as the vendors we represent, and I can vouch for these guys. These guys are rock solid with their reporting and accounting and everything else. So, but the reason I wanted to get Derek Esty on today is because Derek had shared with me some new legislation that has come down in Texas, and it sounded really interesting to me. And we talk about carrots and sticks all the time. We've dangled the carrot for the doctors. That's the revenue model. But Derek's going to tell us about the stick he uses in Texas and something that we could use across the country to really encourage doctors to start using the service. So Derek, I'm going to let you take it away. Can you break down what is going on in Texas? Tell us about the new legislation.
Absolutely. In the great state of Texas has some new mandates for it's for anybody who's prescribing out prescription drugs. The reality is 80 people a day are dying from prescription drug overdose. So states are getting together, the federal government's getting together, and they're trying to figure out ways to stop this epidemic of overprescribed and prescription pills being so rampant. One of the measures they did in Texas that first started out as not even a requirement, it was a suggestion. That they suggested that anybody who's prescribing pain management medication, which usually means is a primary care provider, is a lot of times ends up being there, or even a pain management clinic, that they're required by now, the new law that happened in, I believe it was in August of this last year, that you have to not only understand the physical condition of the patient, but you also have to understand the mental condition of the patient. Before you prescribe the drugs, you have to know what's going on in that patient's physical body for the explanation of why you're giving them the medication. And you also have to know what's going on inside their mental condition. Also, you're required now in Texas to track the difference between when you started prescribing and now that you've been prescribing. So you have to do it on a regular basis to determine what is going on in that patient's physical condition, and also how that medication is affecting their mental condition. The big kicker is all this has to be documented. In other words, they can't just say, well, we did it. We kind of looked them over and talked to them about it. It doesn't work that way. You have to document what services you've performed to protect that patient's physical condition and mental condition. The physical side is not so hard for these guys because they're used to that. But it's the mental component that's a brand new area that's a problem for especially pain management clinics in Texas. Our product is very simple in the aspect that it's a standardized tool that can document exactly what that patient's mental condition is from the very first day they walked in to all the way through the next year, 2, 3 years of how long they've been on treatment. And what the law suggests, this is what they don't mandate, but they suggest quarterly or about every 3 months to do another screening. So what's happening is pain management clinics are needing to check the mental condition of their patients basically every quarter and be able to determine how that medication is affecting it. The side effects for most opiate-based medication One of the side effects that's real common is either delusion, anxiety, or depression. And that's why the law came into effect.
So, Derek, as far as I know, having been a pharmacist in my past life, like pain medications are amongst the most widely prescribed medication out there. So which offices, is it just going to be pain offices that are largely affected by this, or will it be like your internal medicine and family practices affected also?
Well, the way the law is written now, Vivian, it affects if anybody who prescribes pain treatment. So technically, if you're prescribing Motrin, you're under this requirements. But the law's intent was primarily for pain management. Now, keep in mind, in a lot of like rural areas in Texas or different areas, there isn't a pain management clinic, so that primary care provider is that pain management clinic. So they are directly getting hit, being held responsible by these new standards. The problem is most of these guys don't know it exists.
Right. So, and how long do you think that we would see this rolling out to the rest of the country? Obviously, Texas is kind of ahead of the game as far as this was concerned, but what would you anticipate that would look like?
It's going to come out. It's not an if thing, it's a when thing. It is going to be coming out. These similar standards are going to be adopted nationwide soon. Each state's going to hold their own regulation and control, but even the federal government is currently getting involved in it. There's senator after senator that's currently now trying to curb pill popping, pill farms, the overuse, basically the overuse of prescription drugs. There's about 2 or 3 different legislation acts currently in Congress that are being bandied back and forth to get the wording right before they sign it into law for this medication abuse protection. So this is not something a provider wants to wait on the back end for. The other thing is a provider takes their risk every time they write a script for a patient. They put their license in that patient's hand, and they assume that that patient is going to do the right thing. What I'm saying by this is every time that they write a script for that patient for pain medication, if that patient sells the medication, takes all the medication in one day, et cetera, that comes back to the provider for liability. They're supposed to know what's going on with that pain medication. Another reason why our product also is a benefit, especially even in the pain management clinics. Let's say pain management cannot bill. Our product, again, bills 3 codes, G0442, G0444, and 96103. The first 2 G codes are only for primary care providers. So a pain management clinic cannot bill G0442 and G0444. The Medicare reimbursement on 96103 is about $28. It's not a lot of money. Private insurance is between $30 and $50 for that same thing. But our product may not be for a pain management clinic a profit center, but what it is it's going to give them a ton of protection. One of the tests that's on our test is an opioid risk test. It determines for a brand new patient exactly what's their probability of being a pain opiate abuser. Another test that we provide is somatic severity. That's phantom pain. That means that the doctor can't find anything physically wrong with you, even though you're going and telling the doctor you're hurting. That pain management runs into that all the time. They also have alcohol abuse test is in our current assessment as well. If alcohol and pain management clinics do not go well together, as you can well figure out. So even if our product, which it isn't for a pain management clinic in particular, a money maker, what it is a liability protector. It gives them protection from a lawsuit saying, listen, we use a third party verified source that shows that for every patient that we see, we do it 4 times a year, and we determine the mental health of that patient before and after and during while we prescribe our medication. We do everything as a provider to protect that patient and ourselves from abuse. These are all the steps that we're doing. Again, that 96103 code has said pays about $20 Medicare and about $30 to $50 private insurance. It can be billed 4 times a year. So it's perfect for a pain management client. But again, it's not a money maker. It's more of an environment where they're going to protect their investment, protect their license, and give the better patient care that the patient really needs.
Well, Derek, I've mentioned this on podcasts before. When I went through pharmaceutical training with Merck, I remember they brought in a guy who shared some information with us about some research that was done on selling to doctors and what their key motivators were when they actually made a purchase. And the number one criteria was avoiding risk. So I know we get in this mindset of money, 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 how much money are we going to make you? But that's not how doctors think. Money is secondary. Number one, it has to be good for patients, and if you can help them avoid risk, that is the biggest selling point that you could bring to a physician.
Absolutely. I mean, the majority of the items in that doctor's office don't quote-unquote make the money, but the majority of the items in there do prevent risk. I mean, something as simple as the scale to determine the weight of that patient every time that they come in helps determine the amount of medication that patient's getting, and that also helps reduce risk. Michael, you're absolutely right. Providers are the most risk-adverse group out there, and the number one target you could hit them on is saying, hey, doctor, you are open to this huge problem, and for a really easy fix that you're going to make a couple bucks on, or it may be a wash, but primarily you're going to stop that risk. It's a cost of doing business that really isn't a cost.
Absolutely. Well, Derek, this is awesome information, and everyone, I have a copy of that legislation. Derek forwarded it to me. I will blast it out to everybody. If you're not with us, if you did not get that information, if you want to get that information, please email me. You can.
Michael, is there anything else you'd like me to cover?
No. That's good, Derek. So thank you for getting on. If anyone wants more information on this, please, you can email us at ancillarypodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, Derek.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Vivian.
Thanks, guys.